Hey guys, I'm the Drink Pro. Today we're drinking Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, batch C919. Hey guys, I'm Kyle, the Drink Pro. Thanks again for joining me today. We've got a really special, interesting pour. It's hard for some people to get. It is an allocated whiskey, Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. Now there is a standard issue Elijah Craig. I've got a couple of store picks of the same on the shelf, and we'll get to those in a future video. But today I wanted to sample a barrel proof whiskey. This is a pretty high proof, 68.4% alcohol. So it's really gonna have a lot of heat to it. It's a really interesting expression from the Elijah Craig line. You can see I haven't had a lot of it, but I have tried it and I really wanted to do another review. Part of the reason I opened it before putting it on the show was to get rid of the neck pour. I wanted to make sure it came out as a true expression of the whiskey, and we've talked about neck pours before, so I won't rehash that here. But a lot of people were disappointed with the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof Batch B. Now, you might be asking, what are these letters and numbers and why do I care? Easy to answer. The B, C, A, that tells you which edition it is in that given year. So because this is the C, it's the third edition of the year. Now, which year? The 919 tells you. 9 is the month, 19 is the year. So C919 tells you it's the third issue from 2019 and it was issued in September. Now again, this is a 68.4% alcohol, 136.8 proof, very close to what's called hazmat. Now hazmat is 140 proof or higher. It's hazardous material, shortened hazmat. It's actually a federal government definition. You can't take hazardous material on commercial airlines, for example. So if you bought a bottle of whiskey that was over 70% alcohol and you wanted to bring it back to your state, it's going to be illegal to do it in the body of a plane. Now, this isn't quite hazmat, but it's very high proof, so you're really going to get a lot of interesting things happening with a whiskey this high proof. It may be very condensed and too hot, and adding water might really help it, or it may be wonderfully interesting and complex. Depending on the batch, sometimes watering things down can help, sometimes it can hurt. And that's why I always recommend going for a taste profile and not a proof statement. You might know you like higher proof whiskey, but if you find something that's really complex, or you've been told is really complex, and it's a lower proof, go ahead and buy it and try it. Some people out there are proof chasers, and they really want things that are high proof and strong and hot, and that's not always the best option. It really isn't, even though a lot of people are going to disagree with me on that. Let them. Oh, I can't, I love it. I'm not going to pour as much of this as I would other whiskeys. The ideal pour spot on a Glencairn glass is actually right in the middle of the bulb. The widest point will be exactly 2 ounces. And that's a standard pour for a proper, neat whiskey pour. A lot of whiskey bars will give you 1 ounce or 1.5 ounces, but if they know what they're doing, they probably offer a 2-ounce option. And they might even offer Glencairn glasses, so you can look and test and find out for yourself, is this actually 2 ounces, or like this pour that I've just given myself, a little bit less. Part of why I gave myself a little less is because this stuff is really high octane, and I'm not trying to get burned out right now. Oh, the nose on this is fantastic. I love the nose on this whiskey. It's very rich, red berries, cherries, dark fruit. There's some baking spice in there, but it's mostly like a cinnamon, maybe a nutmeg. It's not as spicy as some other baking spices. I'm definitely getting a vanilla in this, but it's not a vanilla extract. There are different nuances to some of these flavors, and vanilla is a great example. Vanilla is in almost any bourbon, but how it presents itself is really important. Vanilla can be very sharp and astringent and acidic and just tinny, and that to me is much more a vanilla extract. It's like it's been pulled out and stripped down and made to be a very neat, specific thing. The vanilla in this pour is much more rounded and robust. It's more like a fresh vanilla. I really love finding those kinds of notes in whiskey because that kind of nuance means there was a real attention to detail in the process. You know, you can find whiskeys, strip them down, make them happen, and just be a simple vanilla cherry corn sweetness, but something about a rounded, robust vegetal note that isn't off-putting really brings me in. I love that kind of note in a whiskey. And I also really love berry notes in whiskey. I love the blackberries. I love the cherry notes. This is really just everything I want in nose on a whiskey. So there's not a lot going on in this whiskey other than the notes I've already given. They definitely have the fruits, you definitely have the vanilla bean, maybe some would call it, and it also has some of that baking spice and some of the sweetness you'd expect from a bourbon. It's not particularly complex though, but that's not necessarily a problem. I really like all the notes I'm getting out of this whiskey, and if you like the notes you're smelling, it doesn't have to be complex, it doesn't have to be different and interesting. A lot of people are complexity chasers and they want something to be crazy and different and interesting and change 1,000 times. I can really enjoy that and appreciate it, but if you give people blind tastings and you say, which whiskey is the best whiskey, which do you enjoy the most? They're going to give a different answer than if you say which is the highest priced whiskey, or which is the rarest whiskey, or which is the most prestigious whiskey. Those are different things from enjoyability, which is a really important distinction to understand, especially if you're new in this game. Whiskey is about enjoying your experience. And so if somebody tells you you're supposed to enjoy something and you don't enjoy it, let them enjoy it. Let other people go find this rare bottle. You don't have to hunt everything. Find what you like, enjoy it, and don't be ashamed about it. That doesn't mean don't get outside of your comfort zone. Getting out of your comfort zone can be a lot of fun and really interesting. But don't feel compelled, don't feel the pressure to go hunt down every rare Pappy bottle you can find. That's not everybody's thing. Let's give this a taste. Enough of my ramblings. Oh, this has changed. One of the things I've talked about before is that whiskeys definitely change after you open them. This has changed a lot since my first neck pour. That is bound to happen. I'm concerned though because it didn't change in a good way. And I have 2 bottles of this, so let's hope it changes back after I keep tasting it. With something this high proof, it's really hard to pick notes out because you're just going to get so much heat and burn on the first taste. Continuing to acclimate to the taste and acclimate to the heat is an important step. Don't go into it, head first and go, it's too hot, I don't like it, and finish the experience. You need to give it a chance, give it a couple of tastes, and figure out if you like it after it has settled in your palate and you become used to that heat level. After tasting it though, the nose becomes a lot more corn, a lot more grain oriented. It's sweet, it's floral on the taste. I did not get that on the first go. But it's definitely sweet and floral. It's like honeysuckle. There's some of that vegetation flavor in there. The mid palate is quiet, maybe a little bready. And then the finish is actually a little sweet, which is uncommon. I'm getting a sweetness. Definitely can feel the heat on my tongue, but the burn is much subsided after I've given it a couple tastes and acclimated to the flavor. But it's long. I keep getting this bitterness come back, and a little vanilla comes back. The interesting, complex notes on the palate are really enjoyable. As I get used to this whiskey, the berry notes that were on the nose start to show up in the palate. It's so damn hot though. 68.4% alcohol. That is more than 1.5 times what a lot of whiskey drinkers tend to drink. Almost 1.75 times. There's a lot happening and you can tell, but it's hard to get comfortable with it because it's just so much heat right up front. And it's interesting to me that it doesn't show up on the nose at all, but it really hits you on the palate. I like this whiskey so much that I've drank too much of it. But I want to do a water test for you guys, so I'm going to suffer through it. Wait. Not as good the second time. Could be said about so many things. Bloop. Not enough water. Bloop. Maybe one more. Bloop. That's more water than I usually add to whiskeys, but because this is so high proof, I'm not going to be ashamed about slowing my roll with the heat and seeing what I can pull out of this whiskey. Oh, it's changed a lot. After adding water to it, the berries kind of subside, but the cherries come out stronger. I get a banana note, I get some citrus fruit. And the vanilla comes out, but it starts to be less vegetal. The vanilla bean falls away, and it becomes more like just a standard vanilla in a whiskey. So let's give it a taste. See, the water really opens up this pour. Some whiskeys it doesn't, some it does. It really opens up this pour. There's a lot more sweetness and brightness and vegetation in a good way, almost a floral note, I guess I'd say, like a geranium. The mid palate is delicious. It's got the honey. It's got that breadiness. And then the finish comes back in. Nice wood, but soft wood, not bite your head off bitter wood. It's soft wood with a hint of tongue tingle and the light white pepper. White and black pepper are different, by the way. Try it for yourself. See if you can notice the differences in the flavor. They really do stand out if you sit with them. This is just a wonderful whiskey. There's just nothing I can say to complain about this. It just really hits all the right notes for me. I highly recommend it if you can find it. It's pretty hard to find. It flies off the shelves, but if you can find Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, pick it up, particularly if you can find the C919 edition. Now, I will tell you, there's another edition that's very popular, and I have it right here. The A119, first batch of the year, January of 2019, A119. This is highly sought after. It's a valuable bottle. I haven't opened the seal on this, and I won't here today. I will in the near future, though, I promise. This bottle's not going away from me. I tell you that because this is such a popular whiskey, and I have tasted it, that it kind of overshadows its younger brother here. The C919, though, I would put up against anything, and I have tried this whiskey. I've tasted this from friends, and I gotta say, I think the C is better. It's more complex, it's got that sweet berry note that I really like, and I didn't know this until today, it really opens up better with the water. I got a much more soft woodiness with a loss in complexity when I put water in the A119. So, C919, Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, pick it up if you see it. Thanks everybody for joining me today. Please like and subscribe. Click that little bell so you can get notifications when I issue new videos. Please send me comments, send me requests, send me any kind of information. I want to hear from you guys. I want this to be a back and forth and a conversation. So drop a comment below. You can hit me up on Facebook, hit me up on Instagram, however you reach out to me. Let's continue to talk, let's continue to enjoy whiskey together, and let's continue to keep drinking like professionals. Cheers, guys.